Thank you for attending today's Blackbaud Session 2 training. In this training, we will take a look at the back end, otherwise known as Sphere, side of the system. In your Internet Explorer, open a tab and go to internet.blackbaud.com. I've saved it as a favorite button. Once to the screen, up in the upper right-hand corner, you will see a place to enter your username and password. You will have received an email with a username and temporary password. The first time you log in, you'll be able to customize that password to something more memorable to you. If you have access to multiple events, you will see something as on the screen. You'll have multiple accounts that you can log into. I'm going to log into the Twin Cities account. First, we'll take a look at some of the menu features. The options at the top of the screen. We will not use all these options, but we'll go through the portions that we do use. Also available at the very top, you'll see links to help, training and support, the ability to change the account without logging out, and the area that you can actually log out of Blackbaud Sphere. We won't be using the help and the training and support. All your training and support will come from your affiliate Blackbaud associate. If you should need to call into Blackbaud support for help, they'll ask you what account you're in. You can find that in the upper portion here, American Heart Association-MN Twin Cities is the account that I'm currently in. Over to the right-hand corner, you'll see the area or the number for Blackbaud support. Your first line of defense is going to be your affiliate Blackbaud director, which is currently me. You can either email me directly, IM me, or call me, or you can send a message to our customer support box, MWA Customer Support Requests at heart.org. Getting into some of the features, underneath Control, the area that we'll go to is Reports, down to Premium Reports. What these reports are Blackbaud created reports for information that we use on a high-end level. Unfortunately, these reports cannot be customized as far as being able to add or delete columns in the reports. What you see is what you get. One of the most commonly used reports is the AHW Company Grid Report. If I click on Choose Initiative Groups, up in the upper right-hand portion or left-hand portion, we'll see a drop-down. This is where you can choose what event that you're actually going to pull this report for. If your event falls between January and June 30th, you are considered a spring event. If your event falls between July 1st and the end of the year of December, you'll be considered a fall event. Then just think of what calendar year we're in. So if I want to pull the event that just happened for Twin Cities, which occurred in May, I'm going to pull the spring 2013. I'll click on Run Report, and my report will pop up. There are a couple different ways that you can actually change the filtering on here. You can choose all companies by priority based in alphabetical order, all companies simply listed in alphabetical order, all companies based on money raised. Currently right now it's all companies by priority based on the money raised, so our A, B, and C levels and how much money that they've raised. In the reports training, we'll actually get into all the reports underneath Premium Reports, as well as reports that are available within the initiative. Moving on to the next option, we have contacts. The two areas that we'll go to underneath here are contacts individuals and contacts organizations. If I go to contacts individuals, this gives me a list of all the individuals within the database, whether they are participants or whether they are donors. If I look up myself, you'll see that there are multiple individuals listed with the same last name. Ideally, what we'd like to see are individuals just with one record. If I hover over this one right here, as I know this is my most current record, hover over Manage and go to Manage Contact. This will give me all the information about this current individual. The first tab is simply going to be a Summary tab, where I can see pertinent information as far as contact information, what their email address is, transaction history. If I go to the Profile tab, This is one area that if an individual asks for a password reset email, I can come in here, Profile, Profile Highlights, Login Information. If I click on Send, this will send them a password reset. Underneath Financial, you can look at individual transactions that this individual has done in pertaining to the Heart Walk. A lot of these $0 purchases will simply mean the registration. It's $0 to participate in the event, but it's still considered a purchase within the system. Underneath soft credits, you can see donor information to this individual. So here's a list of some of the donors that have donated to this individual and what initiative year they've donated to. My preferred tab is actually Interactions, Activities. This actually spells out the types of activities that this individual has done. FAF, email sent, means this is the friends asking friends that they have sent through their personal Heart Walk webpage. It'll give you the number of emails that are sent and the subject line of the email that was sent. It does not give you the content of what that email stated. Moving down to the bottom, you can also see donation confirmations. You can also see registration confirmations. This is one way that you can see the registrations for this individual as well as donations that they have personally given. We don't utilize the Relationships tab. Underneath Record Management, this is one area that you can do a duplicate check. There is a training specifically on running a duplicate check and merging individuals within the system. Even though that we saw there were multiples for this individual, you'll notice there are not any listed down here. That's simply because the duplicate check has not been run on the event. Going back up to contacts, the same type of information is available for organizations. If I were to look up American Heart Association, we'll have the same kind of information here. Again, ideally what we want to see is that each organization has one record to have the most complete information available. If I hover over Manage and go to Manage Contact, the same type of information is going to be available. We can see contact information. If I go to Profile, I can actually update this information. Profile Organizations, if I click on Edit, I can actually update information in here. This is where we'll be able to see the employees, the priority level, and their classification, whether they are a new or previous company. Moving on to the Financial tab, we can see the financial transactions for this individual. Again, if I click on Transactions, this will give me a listing of what this company has donated to the Heart Walk. Again, my preferred method of looking at this information is underneath the Interactions tab, underneath Activities, simply because it actually spells out what these transactions are. We can see that we have sponsorships, deleted sponsorships, transactions that have not been processed. It gives a concise and complete history of what this company has done. Again, we'll skip over the Relationships tab. Under Record Management, Duplicate Check tab, if a duplicate check has been run on the event, we can see if there are multiples in here that we could merge. So those are the two areas underneath contacts that we will utilize. Individuals and organizations. Underneath Database Management, we do see that this is where we'll run that duplicate checker. Again, there's a training specifically on running duplicate check and merging records within the system. Underneath Communities, the one area that we'll go to is Communities, Special Events, Friends Asking Friends, Conterathon. The same link can be found underneath our quick links over on the left-hand side. If I simply click on Conterathon, it'll take me to the same area. This is going to be a listing of all the events for this account. Each account is listed individually. There are an exception of a couple accounts that do have multiple events in there, such as Dubuque and Waterloo, Sioux City and Sioux Center. They share the same account, but they still have individualized events. Moving on to content, the two areas that we would utilize underneath here are Content Management System, where we have the ability to create standalone web pages from PDFs or standalone web pages. There's a specific training that goes over how to create standalone web pages that we would get into the details of how to create these pages. The two main pages that are on the front page are our View Our Sponsors page and our Participant Resources and Tools. This page is a page that we can have additional resources available to our participants or individuals that simply come to the web page. Underneath Communications, the area that we'll go to underneath here is Email. Each event has an email campaign that's broken out for each event year. Currently, you'll see that we do have a Spring 2014 email campaign. If I hover over the event, go to Manage, I'll see all the emails that are currently available for this event. There's a specific training as well that talks about how to send out emails. We'll go over the email timeline as well as the functionality of creating receiver lists if necessary and updating content and then sending out those emails to our participants and donors. Two tabs we don't use are Commerce and Custom Entities, so you can just simply skip those altogether. Let's get into the event and look at some of the features that are available within the event. Underneath Quick Links, I'm going to go to Conterathon. Again, down below you'll see all the events that are listed for this account. You'll see the status of the web page over on the right-hand side. The current 2014 Twin Cities event is currently active, meaning that it's available to the public if they were to search for twincitiesheartwalk.org. You'll see the other websites are disabled. We still have the ability to pull reports and enter information. It just means that it's not visible to the public if they were to search for it. If we hover over the event, you'll see a list of additional features that pop up. Underneath Website Info, this is where I take the information provided on the website customization form and create your website for you. To get to your event, you can simply click on Go, and it'll open up another page that will open up to your website. Again, there are features underneath here. The main feature that you will go to is sponsor information. This enables you to upload sponsors onto the front page underneath sponsorship logos. There's a specific training on how to upload sponsorship logos not only to your front page, but as well to that View Our Sponsors page that we found underneath Content standalone web pages. Underneath Special Events on the left-hand side is a quick way to get back to areas within this website. So Website Info will take us back to the Web Info checklist where we can add additional information. If you feel comfortable, the other area that you can go to is Front Page Customization. This is where you can update information such as the event date or event goal if it hasn't been listed when the website was created. Underneath the body, this is where we can update the front page. Again, if you're comfortable with some of the HTML coding, you can certainly try to update it. Otherwise, feel free to get a hold of me and we can either go through that together and update it together, or if you send me the information that you like on your front page, I'll certainly put it on your front page for you. One area to never touch or never delete would be our Google Analytics. This scripting in here actually enables us to see how many individuals have come to your website. If I click on the link for Web Info Checklist, again, the two areas that you'll primarily have any information inputted in would be front page customization as well as sponsor information. If you make any edits to your event information, such as an event date or event goal, please feel free to include that information to me so I can update any additional website areas that need to be updated, as well as I can update that information on any reports that are sent out weekly. Moving on to Event Admin, the two areas that you'll go to underneath here, Set up and Manage Event Committees. This is where we have our committees created for the event. We have our AHA Staff Committee, our Community Teams Committee, and our Executive Committee. The Executive Committee would house our chairperson and any ELT members. To add members, simply click on the radio button next to Executive Committee, show members, and then you can add a new member. I have additional instructions or a user guide on how to update this information as well. Clicking on Event Admin, the only other area that we go to underneath here is Manage Company Pyramid. Underneath Manage Company Pyramid, this is a list of all the companies that have agreed to participate in the Heart Walk event this year. There's a specific training, registration, that will go through how to register companies in the pyramid, as well as how to create teams and register individuals as well. Moving on to bookkeeping, the different areas that we'll go to underneath here are edit transactions, pending transactions, batch transactions, and single transactions. A lot of this will be covered in the individualized trainings, but we'll get in and take a look at a couple features that are available right now. Manage event initiative records. This is where you can go to look at participant, donor, and sponsorship information. If I have participants highlighted, if I look up an individual's name, if they show at the bottom of your screen, that means they are a registered participant for the event. If you attempt to look someone up and they do not show up, that means they are not currently registered for the event. So we would need to register them before they would be available to do any kind of bookkeeping on them. If I click on Edit next to the individual's name, a couple things that we can do here, we can see if they've created a personal page link. Other things that we can do in here is we can send the password reset link. This is the way that I would actually recommend sending a password reset. You can go into last year's event as well underneath Bookkeeping, Manage Initiative Records to look up an individual to make sure that you send them the most current username and password that they have utilized. Underneath Edit Event Registration Information, this is one way that you can actually update to start a team, become a co-captain of a team, join another team. So this is one way that you can actually move people around with their registration. I prefer to use some of the moving within the actual company pyramid. To me, I like that visual, so it's a little bit easier for me to see where I'm moving someone going that route. Please feel free to get a hold of me and we can walk through some changes together. Also, things that you can do underneath here, change their t-shirt size. If they made a donation at the time of their registration, you can also add that recognition or honorarium in here. We can also update their fundraising goal right here too. We won't use edit event information, apply edits and credits and debits, but we do have the ability to delete the record from the initiative. This does not delete them from the entire database. This simply deletes their registration from this year's event. So if I were to come in and click on Delete Record from Event and Reverse Transaction, if they made a donation at the time of their registration, that donation would be reversed back to their credit card or back to their bank account. If they made a donation via check, we would need to get a hold of finance to have that reversed. But if this donation was made at the time of registration, most likely it'll be an online transaction via credit card, PayPal, or ACH payment. Clicking on the little breadcrumb up here for bookkeeping, if I go back into Manage Initiative Records, I also have the ability to look at donors. If I simply click on Show All, it'll show me all the donors currently for this event. Right now we can see that there is a PricewaterhouseCoopers. Anything with an underline or the hyperlink, that it means that it would be an organization record that has been created in here. If I click on Edit next to the name, this is where I can change the credit. So let's say this did not need to be credited to the actual team Global IT. If it needed to be credited to a participant, I can click on the link for Credit Participant, search for the participant if they're not listed here, if there's multiple pages. If I want this credit to go to Deanna Suba, I would simply click the radio button next to her name and click on Save. I'm not going to change that credit right now, so I'll just simply click on Cancel. Again, if I click on the donor button, Show All, Edit next to the donor's name, the other things that I can do in here is that I have the ability to update the donation amount if it's an offline check or if it's a cash payment. If it was an online credit card or PayPal, we do not have the ability to update that donation amount. One last thing we do have the ability to do underneath here is, again, delete record from the initiative. What this would enable us to do is delete this transaction. It would be charged back to their credit card or their ACH payment back to their banking account. If they made a donation via a check, again, we need to get a hold of finance so that they can get payment back to that organization. If I click on Manage Initiative Records, the last place that we can go to underneath here, or that we actually utilize, is Sponsors. Again, if I click on Show All, this would give me a list of any sponsor that has been committed, meaning that we've received their check and their payment has been made. If I clicked on Show All and nothing shows up, that means currently we do not have any sponsors available to do any transactions on. The same types of features are available for sponsors that are available underneath participants and donors, meaning that we can delete that transaction if there's a duplicate in the system or if we need to update the amount that was listed for payment. Clicking on the breadcrumb for bookkeeping, I can get back to all the other available features in here. Underneath pending transactions, the types of things we can do underneath here, participants have the ability to enter in donations from their personal HeartWalk webpage. Those donations would be listed underneath pending donations. Currently there are not any participant transactions in here. We can also click on all entries and it would show any entries that are created by or from a company instead of by the participant. What this will enable us to do is once we receive that envelope with that check or cash payment in there, we can come in here and simply click the button next to the participant and confirm that yes, we have received these donations. Clicking on bookkeeping, the other area that will go underneath here is pending matching gifts, in order to see if there are any pending matching gifts that have been created. Mary Dickey in the Topeka office is actually our matching gifts coordinator, so all matching gift information can be sent to her. We have the ability to enter in those pending matching gifts. She'll take care of processing that check once it's received. There is a training specifically on matching gifts, how to enter those pending matching gifts, sending the information to Mary, and what she'll be doing once she receives that check payment. Again, clicking on bookkeeping, I'll come down here. The other area that we have are pending sponsorships. This is where we'll actually preload our sponsorships for our event year. It's a nice way to actually have our sponsors listed that we are going to be prospecting. There is a training specifically on the sponsorship pipeline, how to enter those sponsors in, and what to do once we actually receive the check back. It'll also walk us through the process of the sponsorship becoming a prospect, having a verbal, getting a contract signed, and then once the check is received. Clicking on bookkeeping again, other areas that we have underneath here are batch entry system. In the batch entry system, this will be more so an Excel spreadsheet that will be created for you where you can enter multiple registrations or donations in your event. During the registration training, we'll take a closer look at the registration template. During the entering walker money, we'll take a look at the walk envelope batch entry. What that entails is it's an Excel type spreadsheet where you can enter in the lump sum of a walker's envelope instead of individually entering in the donations. So again, the two trainings to take for those specific features are the registration training and entering walker money. The last couple areas underneath bookkeeping to go to, under Add Single Transactions, we have our gift entry, registration entry, and single sponsorship entry. These are the three areas that we would actually utilize under the single transactions area. Underneath gift entry, this is where we can enter in our donors individually one by one. We will get into how to actually do this during the entering in walker money. Likewise, for registration entry, this is where we can actually enter our registrants in. So we can actually register them as a team captain, join a team, or join as an individual. It's very similar to what you would see on the front end of starting a team, and joining as an individual. In the registration training, we'll get into how to perform each one of these tasks as well. Lastly, underneath bookkeeping, we have our single sponsorship entry. Again, this is where we can enter in our sponsors that we're either prospecting or that we've received a check from. In the sponsorship pipeline training, we'll actually get into the features and how to actually enter these sponsorships into the bookkeeping. The last area we'll go to is underneath report. This is where we can pull reports specifically for the initiative. So once we're in the 2013-2014 Twin Cities account, this is where we can run additional reports. Again, the reports training will go specifically into the most utilized reports that are available in here. Just to give you a sampling of what's available, we can go underneath participant detail, click on run report. If I want to add any additional criteria, I can. So this is a nice thing within the actual event that we can actually filter based on certain criteria. If we're looking at a particular company, if we're looking at whether they're team captains or not, we can add that additional criteria in to only look at those individuals. We can also filter based on a date range on most of these reports. There are a few reports, such as the multi-tier group report, which is our company overall report, that we cannot filter based on that date range. We'll get into that again during that reports training. If I simply click on finish, I want to run this report now, and I'll click on run report. Again, this gives us a current listing of those individuals that are registered for this event. During that reports training, we'll also get into how you can customize, add additional criteria in here, choose additional columns for this report as well. This is basically the nuts and bolts of what it takes to get into the back end of the system. Again, there are additional broken out trainings that are specifically geared toward the actual functionality of performing each one of those tasks. Please feel free to sign up for any of those additional trainings, and I hope to talk with you soon. Thank you.